What's going on, folks, and welcome back to Stu's Garage. Today what we're going to talk about is the sweet manufacturing quick release steering wheel hub setup that I have here in my 1990 Fox Body Mustang. Some of you who follow these videos, you may have tuned in yesterday to see the install. I posted this a few places and some folks had a few questions as to my specific thoughts on the setup and a few other specific details, so I decided to go ahead and post this review. Now, this setup is already installed in this car, and it is actually a permanent installation. So because of that, I'm gonna be flipping back to some of the videos from my installation yesterday to kind of show you the parts individually and how they kind of go together. I'm not gonna take anything apart today. So first off, this quick release setup comes in two pieces. This is your stub piece, which installs directly to your steering column after you remove your steering wheel, and this is the actual quick release section, which bolts directly to your steering wheel. I believe these come in 3 bolt patterns, the 3 bolt, the 5 bolt, and the 6 bolt, as you see here. I believe that the stub is the same for everything, and just to measure, it looks like the inner diameter of the stub is about 3/4 of an inch. So that's actually the size of the hole that's going to slide over top of your steering column. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you my first gripe about this thing. When you put this thing on your steering column, it's a universal fit kit, and basically anytime you buy Universal Auto Parts, that basically means like, hey, here, we're giving you the part, you figure out how to make it work on your car. So it's not actually a tight fit to the steering column, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It would be a lot nicer if it was a tight fit, but you have to weld this thing on anyway. So by the time you get done welding, it is gonna be tight and it's not gonna move. But that can make installation a little bit tricky. It's actually pretty easy to install. What I did to get this thing perfectly centered is I just wrapped the very tip of my steering column in electrical tape, which centered this thing up perfectly. I slid it down to the position that I want. I had maybe 2 inches sticking out from my steering column, so I had maybe about 1.5 inches worth of space to play with as far as forwards and backwards, how far I wanted the wheel to stick out. So I put the wheel exactly where I wanted it. I made sure that I had the wheel centered. I marked it, you know, of course, like I said, I shimmed it with tape, and I spot welded this thing on here. Having said that, it would be nice if these pieces came in different diameters and it did have a tight fit to the steering column, but it is what it is. It's not really a big deal. It's just a small gripe that I have. The other gripe that I have is, I don't know, it's a little bit tricky to get in there and weld that, and the fact that it needs to be welded on. I'll go ahead and talk about price at this point and look back around to that. This kit here, which in my opinion is a very, very nice setup. This kit right here is roughly $115 shipped to your door. Most quick release setups that you see, if you buy a decent name brand one, your hub is going to run you $80 to $90, and then your quick release, which goes on top of the hub, is going to probably run you at least another $80. So right there, you're looking at, you know, $160, $170, maybe $180 for your steering wheel hub and quick release setup, which you're going to need if you intend on doing a quick release. And also with those setups, you have to think you're putting the hub on and then you're putting the quick release on top of the hub. I think that quick release adds another inch, maybe. I'm not sure because I haven't actually seen one in person, but every time you add a piece, you're pushing that wheel closer to yourself, and at some point it's gonna get somewhere where it's not actually comfortable for you to drive. This is a very compact setup, so this coupled with the 0 offset wheel that I have, because the steering wheel actually stops right here, I was in a pretty safe zone in this chassis. I didn't have to worry about the steering wheel being way too close to me. If I wanted to, I could probably have run a deep dish wheel with this setup, because deep dish wheels look really cool, and I could have pushed this stub a little bit further back. I probably could have given myself up to another 1.5 inches. It would have been difficult to weld if I had pushed it that close to this back plate here, but I could have given myself a little bit more space. Now circling back around the cost, This whole setup, which again is very high quality and very nice, is gonna cost you about $115 shipped. But most people don't have welders at their house, even though I've encouraged you guys to go out and buy welders. A Harbor Freight welder, it's gonna cost you $100. This thing, I've welded so much stuff in this garage, that thing's paid for itself a million times. But most people still don't have welders in their house. That means that you're gonna be taking this thing to a shop for installation. And to be honest, I personally, if you take this thing to a custom shop, I don't see install being less than $200. Most shop labor fees are about $160 an hour for custom work. So that's the kind of base price that you're looking at. You know, maybe they'll charge you an hour worth of labor, maybe they'll charge you more. So you save money on the parts, but it's gonna hit you in labor if you're not able to do this install yourself. This bezel right here is just something that I created because I wasn't really happy with the welds that I made. They're solid welds, but they were ugly, and it kind of uglied up this look. So I made this, and it actually houses my digital display. But that's not really part of this review, so we're not really going to talk about this for right now. Now, as far as gripes that I have with this setup, as you can see, these even splines go all the way around. And I have, you know, a wheel that clearly has an up and down. You can't just put this wheel in any position. But the thing is, you know, if you get in here, this wheel actually will go on in any position, which, you know, you'll still be able to drive the car, obviously. But there's no kind of a locating pin on here. Some things have like a double spline so that you can only put this thing on one way. But with this one, you do have to kind of sit there and make sure that this thing is lined up. And if you do happen to get out of your car and, you know, your wheel is cocked to the side and, you know, you remove this thing and then you put it on, there's no way that you're going to remember exactly what angle you had your wheel at, and then your wheel's going to be crooked. Then you have to straighten it out and see which way your car's going, and I don't know. It's just not going to be very easy to put this thing on straight and level every single time. So that's probably my biggest gripe with this setup, is, you know, just as far as like ease of throwing this thing on there. That right there is what it takes to put that on. You really got to line those things up. So it pops off easy. It comes off really smooth. All you do is you pull this locking collar straight back. It releases. When it's on the car, you pull the locking collar forward. It goes on there. It slides on. You do see the wheel moving a little bit. That's just the natural movement of the steering column. There is no play between the steering wheel and the splines on the steering column. I mean, this thing is on here absolutely tight. The drawback with buying some of those eBay kits, I am actually a big fan of buying cheap parts. I like eBay parts, but I do realize that there is some junk and trash on eBay. Most of the time you luck up when you buy cheap parts, but sometimes there's garbage. And basically, from what I've read on the reviews on Amazon and things like that, those El Cheapo, no-name brand quick release setups are pretty much garbage, and that's why I didn't try to buy one for my car, because I just didn't want to have to go through that. This is a solid setup. It's not going to give you any play or looseness while you're driving your car. So that's pretty much it as far as you know, what my opinions are on this setup. I'm really excited to get out and start using it, and yep, that's pretty much it. So if you guys have any questions, definitely hit me up. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.